all telling the truth. We answer good to the question about our affairs, win everything worse, and make the compliment a friend about her terrible new haircut. Throughout the history of mankind, lie was also evolutionary method of protection, says Michael Lewis, Professor Emeritus of Pediatrics and Psychiatry at Rutgers University. First of all, protection from persecution. If you would lie more, it would be impossible to hide. In countries where adultery, homosexuality, or certain religious beliefs are illegal, people's lives would be under threat. We lie at work to seem more professional. After all, if we openly said to the boss that we think it is, or why we failed to meet the deadline, we could lose work. On the other hand, it is working. Sometimes it is very important to know when they tell us the truth, said Clark Freshman, professor of law at the University of California in Hastings. But we would also be most offended. A world without lies would have caused an immediate blow to our self-esteem, says Dan Ariely, professor of psychology and behavioral economics from Duke University. You suddenly would realize that people do not give your person a lot of attention, and that you are not such a skilled professional as you think, he added. Imagine that your child shows you his drawing and you say, how awful. The negative effects will be immediate. And the charm of childhood would be lost forever, because it will not be Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy and the Easter Bunny. But the children and themselves are early enough to know about social value lies. At the age of 3 or 4 years, they are perfectly mastered the art of polite lies. For example, when the mother teaches them to say that the gift they liked, even if it is not. Moreover, experiments have shown that the smarter and more emotionally developed child, the more she speaks the truth. Obviously, the lie has intellectual benefits for children. Growing up, we begin to lie regularly. One study showed that college students lied in 1/3 of social interaction as adults, 1 in 5. A lot of people are ready to be deceived, says Ekman. We thank the hosts for a lovely evening, even if you were bored every minute. And they are willing to believe in it, not wanting to admit to myself how bad is their company and food. A disadvantage of the polite lie is that we can invite for dinner again and again. But if it was, the friendship would break down, a professional relationship would be strained, and family holidays were even worse than they are now. Not devoid of lies in our romantic relationships. But if we suddenly would become completely honest with our partners, told me about how they look in the morning, or would talk about flirting with a cute coworker, few relationships would survive such a test. And it's not just what you do in the bathroom, and that there are things which you do not want to tell anyone, even your wife or husband. However, the ability to detect lies has several significant advantages. First, we'd finally got rid of pathological liars, or those whose lies have no social benefit. Pathological liars are often the narcissists whose need for self-deception due to fear of shame or exposure. That is why they wholeheartedly believe in their lies, even when it contradicts the facts or their own statements made earlier. Lies in politics, of course, is not something new. However, in recent years it has become too cocky. Trump, Putin and other influential politicians have taken the habit of blatantly lying, or just not caring that they can get clean water, says Professor of Political Science and Journalism Ian Baker. As Professor Baker, people very difficult to convince. Bias is a common flaw of Homo sapiens. Of course we tend to believe what fits into our worldview. In international relations and diplomacy, perhaps at first there was complete chaos, but in the end society would benefit from honest politicians and officials. The same will happen in the police and justice. To include all changes in the world without lying is pretty hard. We only know that it will be a completely different world. However, people will adapt to it over time, developing new norms of social behavior, suggests the professor said. In her opinion, however, we are likely to do everything or come up with new ways to lie, using technology, drugs, social behavior or psychological training.